For this episode, Ange and I dug deep into the file cabinet and pulled out what we know to be an oldie but goodie. It's actually going to be new to you because it's a never before aired episode that was originally intended to begin our season 2. Don't you remember that was the season when I did the entire season behind an overlay of an old television screen? I don't even know what I was thinking, but I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey, Ange.
Hey, Les. You look marvelous.
I'm on TV.
You are.
I know. I'm happy because we're together and we're recording, and our almost 2 month
Has it been? No.
hiatus.
A month
No,
and a
it's been
half.
about a month and a half. Our
Yeah.
month and a half hiatus. It's affected me,
Me too.
and I've been yearning to get back to talk to you.
I know, but here's the thing that is so weird because we still talked all the time because
We talk several times a day.
but we missed this, and I'm not sure
Right.
what it is that's different other than we have people react to it, and so we miss that
Yes.
interaction, even though it's not
I
live
think
and
so.
those types of things. We miss that interaction, and I have been looking at the numbers, not daily as I was before, and there are people. We're getting new people watching our podcast, but I
Aw.
did miss this forum with you. I really did.
Well, yeah.
So.
Well, I'm back.
I
Here we
see.
are.
I see. We're back. What's the name of it? Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
So you may notice that this is a video. One of the things that we have decided to do for season 2 is to have a podcast and so audio and video. So
Yeah.
we'll be launching our YouTube channel and just having an additional way that we can reach an audience
And connect
through
with
video.
people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And some people will be the same and some will be different. So that's one
Yeah.
thing that we decided to do that's different. We were hoping that we would be together for this new season, to start the new season, but this chick got COVID and
You did.
just
For the
recovering
first
from
time,
it.
too.
The first time. I don't know what
Man, you've
happened, but
probably been the last holdout.
yeah. And it wasn't awful. Like, I didn't lose my taste, or I kind of, so
But
I
you
didn't
felt
lose
bad
any.
for a few days.
I didn't lose any weight or anything. Yeah, it felt like a really bad flu, like body aches and things like that.
Yeah.
But in any case, I'm not coming anywhere near Omari for
Not me,
6 months. Well,
but no,
I'm
I
just,
get it. You're right. You're right.
I'm just saying, he's immune system is so suppressed. I don't want to take a chance. So anyway, we are pivoting and
Yeah.
recording,
And here we are.
and here we are. Cannot believe you have that TV. Okay, I'm gonna try to ignore it. I'm gonna try.
Why? This could be my signature look.
Okay.
I'm,
Okay.
old school. This was the TV I grew up with, and I was one of the last holdouts to have a remote. So I remember, it's like always the kid's job to turn the TV.
Yes.
And then when we lost the handle, the knob on this thing, you would have to get a plier and
You
turn
You would.
to the different channel. So
That's right. That's
I'm at
right.
home with this.
We were fancy. We had a vice grip. So because then you would end up losing the pliers when you had to use it. So it would just stay a small
So you
vice
had
grip.
a
It would just
permanent
stay clipped.
solution?
And the different type of
And
antenna
why
that
couldn't
we
we
had.
just get a replacement from Amazon?
I know.
Look
So
up the model number, Google it, and then get the part from
it's so
the.
crazy. It's so crazy. We need to not be
It was a
so
different world.
throwaway people. I was thinking of something earlier today, and I had to crack up because I'm like, who says that anymore? And why? What a way to show age. I was talking about, I think I was writing about, what we might talk about today during my morning writing.
Yeah.
And I said something like, um, how you had to, how you crank the engine. And when we, back in the day, we would actually turn, and you'd hear the, I don't even know if that happens anymore, but it comes from an actual crank. Way back, you'd have to remember, you'd have to put the thing in and actually
Why
crank
would I
the engine.
remember? No, I would not remember that. What are you talking about? What am I from the 1890s?
I just mean from all the
like four.
I don't. I don't mean that you actually did it.
Are you lying now that we actually were in Brooklyn and our first car was my cranked engine?
Leslie, turn up your volume a little bit.
I can't believe you said
you're
that,
kind of
Leslie.
low. Turn up your volume, please.
I can't.
You can't.
I just can't believe that you just told me remember when you had to crank up an engine.
I don't mean that we actually did it. I mean that we saw it on TV. We had reference to an actual crank that was kept in the car, and you had to push it in and turn it. And maybe I saw that a few times in Jamaica. Maybe, I'm not going to say maybe that happened, perhaps. But I was wondering how many young people would actually know what cranking means. Yeah. So anyway, what you been watching? Anything interesting?
I'm not much of a TV person.
I know.
So I gotta say, I gotta say nothing. What I might get into is the Watcher, and I know I'm probably the last person to get into the show because I think it
you're not, because I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. Oh, good.
So you're the last. So there is a house in a town near me, and it's an actual, it's from a live event, a real event, where a couple and their family purchased a home, and there was some creepy, haunted things going on in this home.
That's enough.
And because in the film version they gave the actual address of the home, it became a security concern in this neighborhood for real, and they had to get police to station themselves outside of now mind you, the people who the story is about have long been gone and all of this stuff, but
is the home vacant?
So do
people live there?
I think people live there now. Yeah, it's a real home and people live there. Yeah.
No, I don't do scary movies.
So the thing is, the reason I'm just getting into it, as you know, I don't really like episodes because I just can't commit that type of time to something that's, ongoing. I'll do a one and done, if anything, but.
Except Jeopardy.
Oh, no, Jeopardy and Judge Judy.
And Judge Judy.
Those are the two I gotta see. And Judge Judy's all reruns, but oh my God, her meanness, it transcends time.
I'm telling you, Leslie will get me off the phone, and that says something, right? For me to be chucked off the phone. Oh, you got 3 minutes before Jeopardy starts. You got 2 minutes before Judge Judy. It's quite telling, embarrassing, kind of, embarrassing.
Yeah.
No, but there was this documentary that
I mentioned in Bible study.
Yeah, in Bible study. I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah, so I don't want to say too much about it, but I'm just gonna look up the title. It's called Contradiction: Blacks and the Bible. Yeah.
And the premise?
The premise, as I've described to you, was that Blacks are as a group, one of the most spiritual and religious groups in America.
Mm-hmm.
And they contrasted their religiosity or their spirituality with um, their economic state in the country and just in general,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
their standing in the country, and wondered if their faith was a hindrance to their progress in this country,
Ah.
or was it sustaining them through difficulty?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Wow, it was pretty powerful. And Ernest and I have had several conversations about it. And I'd like to take a look at it again because it's really it's provocative.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely watch
Provocative.
it.
And while he was very into it, and I kept looking at him because I didn't want him to be offended by any of it. So I was
Right,
like,
right.
"Oh, he's all right with it. He's all right with it." But he was very interested in it to the point where we were able to have a good discussion about it. So
Well,
I'd like that to
definitely on
come
the
up.
list. I've been watching
Let me tell you what else is on the list.
what?
No, you tell me what you were watching, and then I'm going to tell you what else is going to be on the list.
Okay, okay. Um, I've been watching the 1619 project, which I've seen
Mm,
parts of it before, but now being sick and um, my brain not being sharp enough to do a whole lot, I didn't finish, but I watched several episodes of it, and it's basically the history of um, enslaved Africans in America, and
mm,
the first ship that brought enslaved Africans to America was in 1619, and then it starts there, but it goes fully into the history of enslaved Africans in America, Black Americans,
mhm,
and I love those types of the mix of historical records and just proof upon proof upon proof of different things that are so not only different but contradictory to a lot that we are taught in school, and and then kind of following this
mhm,
group of people through time, and the music, all the influences and things like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly learned from it, and a lot of things. I've lived here for most of my life, um, but I understand that there are perspectives that that enslaved Africans who went to other countries, the Caribbean, um, South America, Central America, and so on. There's a lot that
mhm,
we that's not taught in our culture about the things that Black Americans have endured. And so when we talk about this fully, I will talk through some of that and my perspectives on that as a Jamaican, and also as an American, as a Black American. I feel very much that I am, because it's just a perspective that I think would just add to um, our audience's understanding of
mhm.
how certain ideas come about. But anyway, so your, what is it called? What's yours called? Can you say it again? The documentary that you
Yeah, I get
recommended?
up again. Look it up again. I know what you mean.
I think The Contradiction is what it is.
It's called Contradiction: Blacks and the Bible.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that will be maybe something we will do a convergence of those two topics and have that as one of our podcasts. That would be cool.
When we speak about the 1619 project, what I was thinking of, and I want to you to remind me, or I'll remind you, to differentiate the language where I heard you use the term enslaved Africans versus slaves.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of talk about that of late, and I'd like us to get into that as well. It's
Yeah, so
intentional, obvious,
important.
and
Such an important distinction. Yesterday, or maybe the day before yesterday, I was listening to, I'm sure it was NPR, and someone was being interviewed. Um, she seemed to she was talking about a uh, a what do you call it? Some I'm losing my word. Sorry, the fog is real. Let's call it an installation about Toni Morrison and about her
yeah,
life, her works, and um, one of and she we heard Toni Morrison's voice through interviews, and I didn't know, but she narrated all of her audiobooks, which is just going to make me run and get some of those to hear her say,
yeah,
speak those words with the rhythm and the emphasis and things like that. I think
right,
that's
right.
going to be
I was aware of that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But she talked about um, Black is beautiful, and it reminded me of of some of what you were talking about. It was in the kind of discussion around from whose perspective are we to speak, right? Because you know that there's been several interviews where she was challenged because she writes about um, Black people, and that is central. We are central to her stories, and so people are asking, oh, is that the only thing you're going to write about, and things like that, really rude
yes, yes,
questions, you know what I mean?
yes,
um, and so she talked about Black is beautiful, which of course, but that was her position. Of course we are. Like, to whom do we have to say that? Who
right.
or what is causing us to assert that? It must be because people think that we are not, that we have to say
That we are
that Black is
not.
beautiful. And so it's the same kind of
Yes, yes,
idea that I'm talking about in terms of um, the how we look at ourselves and our expectations of each other and things like that. But anyway, that is probably yesterday that I heard her say that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that more too when we have that discussion.
And just
Yeah.
to jump on that a little bit, there is something, quote unquote, magic about the way that we've conquered some of the obstacles that have been put and continue to be put in front of us.
Yeah.
How historically Black people have to show up better than their non-melanated counterparts
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in order to just compete on the same level.
Yeah.
So some people might call that magical. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah.
And I don't want to be too flippant about it, but it's something almost like how Black parents give their sons and daughters the talk. It's something that in our households we know about all the time, that we have to be better in almost every respect than
Yeah.
others to get close to equal recognition for our efforts.
Yeah.
And it's just something that we suck up and say that's the way it is.
Yeah. And you know, all of that is true. I think what is also true is that we put pressure upon ourselves outside of that societal pressure that we have, and with you know, there are different things that we've had to do to get to where we are now, but I think we're at a place now where, for example, we understand mental health, and we understand, you know, that to continually try or feel the need to be super people affects our mental health. It may affect the way that we parent, right? The way that we are, you know, may be very dogmatic in how we tell our children they are to behave because of our fears, or because we want them to be successful, so they have to work 3 times as hard. There is, you know, there is a
for sure.
You know, there's a, what is it? There's a penalty. There's an effect of that truth that is what I've wanted to talk about, because that's a part that's not often talked about, you know.
I think of it like it's a tax on our psyche.
Exactly.
It's a tax on our emotional well-being.
Right.
But it's also a tax on our physical well-being.
Les, do you see this cup?
Can account for disparities. I was looking at the cup. Of course I do. That was our trip to Cuba in 2016.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I just noticed that it was showing up on the camera.
But
so yeah, another good topic to get into, respectability politics. That was on our list from season 1 that we didn't get to. So
how
we can
have
jump
to
into
present
that
and show up in public spaces.
Yep. And I think you know, in what ways have we won the fight so that we don't have to keep doing that? And in what ways are we continuing to hold on to those things as if no progress has been made? It's that whole piece of it too, you know. And in what way are we going to, again, as for our young folks, right? How are we preparing them for what's next if we're still kind of holding them in this is what we had to do to get here? Well, now we're here. How are we giving them freedom to move into the next? Is you know, is a part of what I'm thinking about in that too. What I see
there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So many things.
So many things.
Come up and use the term properly, but I was listening to the radio. You see, I'm not a television watcher, but I listen to talk radio all day long. There is this issue that has come up. It might have originated in TikTok discussions or videos or whatever. I'm not even a TikTok person. How some celebrities are gender bending, wearing ambiguous clothing, and what they're I can't think of the term that's being used, but it's almost as though they're LGBTQ appropriations. So in other words, they are people like Harry Styles, who are not asserting their sexuality, but rather keeping their sexualities as an unknown, perhaps to attract more listeners or fans or things like that. And they were having a discussion. And have you heard the term?
No, I haven't.
I don't remember the term. It might come up at another time. But one person called in and he said something interesting. He said, you know, I'm a 70-year-old man, and I've been an LGBTQ activist for 45 years. And I fought for the right for XYZ, and same-sex marriage was not even something we thought of to fight for when I started my activism. So how dare these younger people or these actors or celebrities try to live off of the backs of our hard work when they haven't put the time in? And a counter to that argument was that, isn't that what progress is about? That activists from the past actually fight for the right, that the future generations no longer have to have the same fights and the same activism, and can in fact live off the backs of our hard work. Our young people today should not have to fight for the same civil rights as Malcolm X did 60 years ago. You know, so it's very interesting. You know, it can go in two different ways. So when what you said about, is it time to relax these warnings we give our children, or respectability politics that we discuss. Don't go out like that, and make sure you don't act like this in public, lest someone think that, whatever the case may be. Is there a still a place for it? You know, or is it time for us to relax the way that we think about things?
And it's you know, all of these things are in transition, right? Because it wasn't that long ago where you know, you couldn't expect to go to work with locks, especially men, I would say, because with women, you know, you could pin it back or whatever. But and I know of a particular case where a former colleague of mine, was told by her Black manager she was considering going natural, and from wearing weaves and straight hair, and he advised her not to do that because it would affect her promotions, and it would affect people's judgment of her and things like that.
And he was looking out for her well-being.
Maybe, or he was stuck in his place. You know, that may be
both.
That may be how he would have judged her, but it may not have been how others might
So
have.
he's advising her as someone who feels that way or whatever.
Right. So it's there's still, you know, and I guess it's just the nature of the beast. But I love that we oftentimes come at these things from different perspectives, and even if we don't, we're willing to unearth kind of new ways of looking at this stuff, you know what I mean? Which I really love the way that we interact that way. It's never just on the surface. It's always like, ooh, let's go down deep. let's dig it up. Let's dig up the dirt.
That's how we do, but not everybody wants
Not
to dig a little
everybody. I
deeper and go
know.
to the next level,
I know.
as we know.
That's true. So I
That's why there are only 2 Black Boomer besties from Brooklyn, not
only
4
two.
or 8.
No, we're not going to kind of come to you in a, as we would say in Jamaica, in a fakey way.
I was
You know what
gonna
I
say
mean?
fake.
We're going to just be our best. It was important for us to start back up, as we mentioned at the beginning. This podcast is good for us too. You know, we get a lot of energy from doing this, even though we continue to have our bestie relationship outside of the podcast. This forum, this way of us connecting with you all is really important, and we're using it. We're using it to get back into a groove and kind of help us through some difficulties that we've been experiencing. And so
Yeah,
we
for
just
sure.
want to remind you that this is a reciprocal situation going on here. We give, we receive, and we're hoping that by bringing this video as well as audio, it's just going to lead to even more connection with you all, and that we're in it. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't like this off-season business. I don't like it.
Let's just never take a break.
I don't think we can have seasons, but there ain't gonna be no big gap in the say. No. It just, we tried a thing, didn't work, won't do it again.
Okay. 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 I'll bring
something. You'll get
All
something on a regular basis, but
Well,
we're happy to be back. We have some really great programming lined up, and yeah, so let's call this a wrap. Leslie, I can't believe you have this TV. You did it the whole. Okay. All right.
that's gonna be
So
my signature move.
she's
Thank
cutting
you
me off. Did you
for
see?
joining
She's
us.
cutting it. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Black
Black
Boomer
Boomer
Besties
Besties
from
from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.